Part 66. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 694. The two teams in the finals came into being. The defending champion 76ers faced the Golden State Warriors, the biggest dark horse of the season. It didn't seem that this was a close matchup. Especially when the Sixers swept their playoff opponents consecutively, the Warriors were even more underestimated. Compared with the 76ers, who are unstoppable in the East, the Warriors also went smoothly in the West, but they were also forced to a dead end by the Grizzlies and defeated by the Rockets. In terms of condition, the Warriors are obviously inferior to the 76ers. Someone also made a comparison between the 76ers and the Rockets. The 76ers and the Rockets are very similar. Both teams are teams with shooting guards as the core. There is another all-star big man in the team. In the third position, the two teams in the third position, there is also an excellent 3D player, Jack Lauder and Trevor Ariza. On the bench, the 76ers have Lewis Williams, and the Rockets also have Headband brothers. In short, the similarity between the two teams is great. But if you really want to compare, the 76ers are better. The most obvious point is the point of Angzi. Throughout the 3 rounds of the Eastern Conference playoffs, Angzi can be described as a blocking and killing the gods, and the Buddha blocking and killing the Buddha. No one can really stop him. James Harden was different. The Rockets fell behind the Clippers in the Western Conference semifinals. James Harden's state was criticized. In the final battle, Rockets coach Kevin McHale even placed James Harden on the bench and finally relied on it. The Harden-free lineup completed the comeback. It was the same situation in the Western Conference Finals. James Harden was in poor condition and was completely suppressed. There was only one outbreak, and the Rockets won only one game. Obviously, Angzi will not be completely suppressed. In the East, whether it is the defense of Jimmy Butler, the defense of Avery Bradley, or even the defense of LeBron James, Angzi will. There is no misfire, crazy scoring game after game, and in every game, Angzi is the best player of the 76ers. The defense he has to face in the finals is not stronger than those of the Eastern Conference opponents. The Warriors include Klay Thompson, Harrison Barnes, and Andre Iguodala, but Angzi came from the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs and also has Egypt. Free Bradley, Marcus Smart, Jimmy Butler and LeBron James and other single defense co-defense masters defend him. None of these defenses can prevent him, and the Warriors' defense obviously poses no threat to Angzi. Only if Angzi is still able to exert strength, the 76ers have a complete opportunity to suppress the Warriors. Therefore, in terms of odds, the 76ers are far ahead of the Warriors. In this finals matchup, most people are still optimistic about the 76ers. Warriors coach Steve Kerr also knows this very well. Before heading to Philadelphia, he studied several games of the 76ers this year's playoffs, including several big wins and several less easy wins. This made Steve Kerr discover an important point. "Luke, what do you think?" Luke Walton, who just retired last season, became an assistant coach for the Warriors immediately this season. The high IQ reflected in the playing time is obviously still used in his coaching career. Although he is not the chief assistant of the Warriors, Steve Kerr's cultivation of him is already very obvious. On the other hand, the Warriors' chief assistant Elvin Gentry was a little bit tricky, but no one knew if it was the same as Steve Kerr. Luke Walton shook his head honestly. To be honest, although there were some differences in the games that Steve Kerr watched, the differences were not very big. Luke Walton didn't think there was anything special. Steve Kerr is satisfied. Now, as long as he speaks, he can prove why he is the head coach, but Luke Walton and Elvin Gentry are not. It's actually very simple. You have already seen it, but I dare not say it. What I want to say is that from these games, one thing is the same: Angzi cannot be restricted. Luke Walton rolled his eyes, and he said to himself, Isn't this really nonsense? Steve Kerr ignored Luke Wharton's eyes. He continued, so, in the finals, we can't stubbornly invest in troops and blindly defend Angzi when necessary, we can take special measures strategy, such as Jordan's Law. Jordan's Law, you must defend against Jordan, but you can't prevent Jordan. We went to defend Jordan's 4 teammates. With Michael Jordan alone, it is impossible to win the game. This strategy is applied to Angzi. I think the effect is the same. As a teammate of Michael Jordan, what I want to say is that Angzi is not better than Michael Jordan, and Jordan's Law has a chance. Steve Kerr is a loyal ancient fan. He has always believed that the stars of the ancient times are better than the modern stars. If he is put to the present, Steve Kerr, who was a role player at the time, is at least the current Klay Thompson. As for Angzi, he can't compare with Michael Jordan at all. The hand check rules and other bonuses are the root cause of the explosion of stars like Angzi. Jordan's Law can make the young Michael Jordan taste the taste of failure, and Angzi will certainly not escape such a fate. Of course, Steve Kerr will not deny Angzi's strength, at least he believes that the current Warriors can only win the finals if they use Jordan's rules. So, Elvin Gentry hesitated, because what Steve Kerr said was different from what he thought. But now, Steve Kerr has his own ideas, and he can't say anything anymore. So, our strategy for the next game is to defend against the other 4 players of the 76ers. Cut off Angzi's passing route. On June 4, 2015, U.S. time, at Wachovia Center Arena in Philadelphia, more than 20,000 fans gathered together, wearing uniform champion cheering suits. The uniform orange-red color seemed to be lit instantly. Wachovia Arena is average, and the atmosphere is obviously very hot. It was another harvest season. After winning the championship unexpectedly last season, the 76ers this season can be described as menacing. All Philadelphia fans are looking forward to the team's ability to defend the title. The team's previous 3 rounds of the playoffs have made the entire Philadelphia cheer. Every round is a sweeping. The Sixers' state has been so hot that it is about to burst. In such a state, it is impossible to justify not winning the championship. Players on both sides soon came out to warm up. The commentary on the sidelines, Tencent Sports from across the ocean, also sent their strongest commentary combination. The host K-Fan and the guest Yang Yi, the two will partner to explain the entire finals. This final will be Angzi's 5th personal finals. It is worth mentioning that this is also his 5th year in the NBA. So, since Angzi entered the NBA, he has been in the finals every year. Yes, not only that, in the first 4 finals, Angzi's team won. Although the first 2 finals, he was only a supporting role. The two sang a tie, and before the start of the game, they blew up Angzi's winning percentage in the finals. Compared to LeBron James' 4 finals, 4 failures, Angzi 4 finals, 4 championships, the gap between the two is really too big. As for the 5th finals, both K-Fan and Yang Yi believe that Angzi has a 98% chance of winning again, and there is only a 2% chance of losing. Of course, this probability is based on K-Fan and Yang Yi's own belief that the real strength of the two teams will not be clear until the game starts. However, before the start of the game, Angzi had already felt the pressure, and the Warriors were not looking good. This game was not so easy to play. Sankai Chinese et. Super Role Player. Author, Yiwen San Buletinji. Chapter 695. At the beginning of the game, Noren's Knoll lost to Bogut with a jump ball, and the Warriors attacked first. Angzi met Klay Thompson on the defensive end. Before the game, the 76ers had studied whether Angzi would switch defenses. The biggest threat to the offensive end of the Warriors was undoubtedly Stephen Curry, so Brett Brown once considered letting Angzi directly go to defend Stephen Curry. But considering that Klay Thompson is also a super scorer, or a cramping player, once the touch is turned on, he will enter the unstoppable Buddha mode. Brett Brown finally did not dare to take a risk and chose to fight. Bit defense. Only Jack Lauder changed defense. He was transferred to the power forward position by Brett Brown to defend Drummond Green, who always appeared on the outside. Anzi faced Klay Thompson, who had little offensive ability with the ball, and in the first round, he ran passively. Regarding the Warriors' top two offenses this season, the 76ers have done a lot of understanding. Basically, the Warriors' style of play is to get open through continuous pick and rolls and open cuts. Outside shooting, especially three-pointers, this season. Stephen Curry averaged 3.6 three-pointers per game, Klay Thompson averaged 3 three-pointers per game, and Andre Iguodala, who averaged 3-pointers per game, averaged 3-pointers per game. Harrison Barnes and Drummond Green, who averaged 0.4 three-pointers per game. These few three-point shooting points alone can help the Warriors to contribute to close to 0 three-pointers per game stably. An accurate calculation, just three-pointers, the Warriors can score 30 points per game. So, at the beginning of the game, the 76ers defense was forced to expand, not giving the Warriors a chance to easily take a three-pointer. An 11 followed Klay Thompson's pace and quickly interspersed and moved on the court. To be honest, an 11, who only defends one person, is still terrifying to be serious. Klay Thompson ran for more than 10 seconds without a chance. And the Warriors can only break through the middle of Stephen Curry and shoot a jumper. With a bang, the shot was missed, and Pau Gasol protected the backboard with a backboard, and then passed the basketball to Anzi. Anzi chose to control the rhythm. Compared with the Warriors, the 76ers have the advantage of the inside. The inside combination of Pau Gasol and Norrance Noel is obviously not comparable to the blue-collar combination of Drummond Green and Andrew Bogut. Slow down the rhythm. Playing inside is the Sixers' first priority. Although they have confidence in their own strength, the 76ers still chose to play steadily. Anzi controlled the ball from outside, and after depressing the rhythm, he tried to organize the offense. But at that moment, an 11 frowned. The Warriors' rotation defense is very good. The 76ers' running is a bit inefficient and has never been found. Anzi is not the kind of player who will always wait for his teammates to have a chance. In the face of Klay Thompson's defense, he made two fake moves of dribbling the ball under the crotch, and then a sudden forward charge, almost instantly broke through the grams. Klay Thompson's single defense. Then, Anzi rushed all the way to the inside, but he didn't encounter any more resistance. He went all the way to the basket and made a layup. Naturally, there are defenses, but Andrew Bogut's defenses came too slowly, and there is no threat to Anzi. Anzi was also very surprised. He didn't think this was the true defensive level of the Warriors. A Western Conference championship team that can break through the strong players in the West could not be so bad in defense. What's more, the Warriors still have the NBA. One of the best flanking lines. After much deliberation, the Warriors did not double-team Anzi. This may be the root reason why Anzi feels that the Warriors' defense is too poor. Brett Brown was also taken aback off the court, but he didn't double-team Anzi. The Sixers played 2 games in the playoffs, and the Warriors were the first to dare not double Anzi. Brett Brown smiled. He admired Steve Kerr's courage a bit, but he believed that Anzi would use practical actions to give the Warriors a heavy blow, so that Steve Kerr would wake up and know what he was doing. Something. An 11 scored the first goal, 2 points were credited, and this was the beginning of the game. Warriors offense, they failed to score in the first wave of offense. They are a team that relies heavily on touch. In the second round of offense, Stephen Curry's shot still failed to hit. Obviously, they are still looking for a touch. On the 76ers side, an 11 didn't need to look for a touch at all. Facing Klay Thompson's still weak single defense, an 11 once again made a breakthrough, rushed to the inside basket, and scored 2 more points. Anzi scored consecutively. From the first few rounds of the game, perhaps the biggest gap between the Rockets and the 76ers lies in the shooting guard position. Facing Klay Thompson's defense, James Harden played normally in only one game in 5 games. And Anzi was very strong at the beginning of the game, and directly ignored Klay Thompson's defense. Anzi scored 2 goals in a row. K-Fan and Yang Yi naturally touted Anzi, and the barrage of Tencent's live broadcast room also raised 666. The game continued, and the Warriors finally scored a goal. It was Stephen Curry who scored. After 2 consecutive irons, Stephen Curry made a 3-pointer from the outside and scored. The way of scoring is a very controversial set of tactics for the Warriors this season: pick and roll 3-pointers. Drummond Green had a single block from the outside and Stephen Curry made a direct 3-pointer after a lateral shift. It was this unreasonable way of scoring that allowed the Warriors to win a lot of games with a big score, because at critical moments, they can always pass. This way to score. Of course, the Warriors' tactics are also quite controversial. Many people think that most of the Warriors' outside single blocks are mobile pick and rolls. In this way, Stephen Curry can get enough space to take 3-pointers. Relying on this set of controversial tactics, the Warriors tied the score to 3-4, but switched to the 76ers offense. Anzi's offense was still unstoppable. This time it was a mid-range shot, with a strong shot from Klay Thompson's interference from the mid-range, and he hit again. After scoring 3 goals, Steve Kerr on the sidelines was also a little anxious. He used Jordan's law to prevent Anzi's teammates from killing Anzi and put Anzi singles, but Klay Thompson's defense was so fast that Steve Kerr couldn't see it. Going down, after 3 consecutive goals, Klay Thompson's defense failed to put pressure on Anzi's offensive end. This is not the single defense that Steve Kerr wants to see. At least it must give Anzi a certain amount of pressure, so that every wave of Anzi's offense is extremely difficult. So, Steve Kerr stood on the sidelines and yelled a few words, and Klay Thompson made a K gesture toward the sidelines. The Warriors continue to fight, and their feel is obviously not good. The 76ers' one-on-one defense is still very strong. The perimeter Ismail Smith, Anzi, and Jack Laughter are strong defensive points, and the matchup defense is still very strong. In the finals, the 76ers' defense has increased to another level. In the face of high-intensity defense, the Warriors' discomfort for a while is also normal. But after the Warriors continued to strike, what was ushered in was the complete outbreak of Anzi, who was singled defense. In the opening 3 consecutive games, then the audience fired without dead ends. After the first quarter, Anzi had already taken 7 shots, hit 3 goals, scored 32 points in a single quarter, and the 76ers did not shoot the whole team in the first quarter. Only 2 times, that is to say, the other players of the 76ers only took 4 shots. Anzi led the team to 35-2 in the first quarter, leading the Warriors by 7 points. Steve Kerr was already a little helpless. He thought that Anzi might be super god, but he still didn't expect Anzi to lead the Sixers ahead of the Warriors with his own strength. Steve Kerr thought it was a problem with the Warriors' defense in the first quarter, so during the break, he made a substitution. Andre, you go to defend, and in the second quarter, you don't have to prevent him from killing him, but remember, you must give him enough pressure. Steve Kerr ordered Andre Iguodala, this a good single defense defender who used to defend Anzi defense. At the start of the second quarter, the Warriors continued to implement the strategy of the first quarter. The 76ers have also seen through the Warriors' defensive strategy. Steve Kerr's idea can't be more obvious. It's nothing more than Jordan's law, to prevent the other 4 of the 76ers from killing the 76ers, and to defend the 76ers' biggest threat alone. To be precise, it is actually a strategy of Tianji's horse racing. Anyway, no matter how defense the Warriors can't prevent Anzi, it's better to just ignore Anzi and prevent the other 4 from being killed. Steve Kerr still believes that in modern basketball, one cannot win a team. In the second quarter, Angzi met his old bitter owner, Andre Iguodala, who had been defensively, but his one-on-one offense and defense were still one-sided. After seeing through the Warriors' defensive strategy, the 76ers responded accordingly. It's not impossible to rely solely on Angzi's offense throughout the game, but this is only the first game of the finals, and Brett Brown doesn't want to see one. Tired to collapse, Angzi, so he arranged several sets of Pau Gasol's singles tactics, and at the same time replaced Lewis Williams. In the entire 76ers team, there are 3 players with the ability to hold the ball in singles: Angzi, Pau Gasol, and Lewis Williams. Now the 76ers have 3 ball holding points on the field, taking turns in singles, which can always release some pressure on Angzi. But the first goal in the second quarter was still from an 11's individual singles. Facing the new defender Andre Iguodala, an 11 chose to explore the top position of the arc. A probing step, then leaning on Andre Iguodala and turning around. Iguodala was about to retreat. He thought Angzi's turn was a precursor to a breakthrough, and Angzi's original idea was indeed a turn and wiped Iguodala, but when he saw Iguodala retreating, he was not polite. One step backward, a jumper shot from outside the three-point line. The ball is in. In the 35th point, the 76ers also led the Warriors by 3:2 by 0 points. Seeing that the point difference is 0 points, the Warriors are a little impatient. Stephen Curry wants to retaliate with a three-pointer, but his hand feels really not good in this game, and Ishmael Smith's defense is a bit bleak. Missed a three-pointer, Lawrence Knoll grabbed the rebound, and then subconsciously handed the ball to Angzi. Angzi didn't think much about it either. According to the team's established tactics, he gave the ball to Lewis Williams before halftime. Brett Brown set up several singles tactics for Lou Wei. Angzi can also take a break during the intermission. Lou Wei rushes to the front court with the ball. At this time, he is playing in the second position and facing Klay Thompson. Defensively, Lou Wei made a breakthrough and wanted to commit a foul. Klay Thompson saw through Lou Wei's fake move. With a drawback, Lou Wei did not make a shot. Then, Angzi gave Lou Wei several singles opportunities in succession, but Lou Wei's hand feel was really not good. After continuous strikes, Angzi could only continue to come by himself. Fortunately, the Warriors have a mediocre touch. With Angzi's scoring alone, the 76ers continue to control the situation on the court. In the second half of the second quarter, Angzi's personal score quickly exceeded 50 points unbelievably, and if he continued to fight like this, Angzi was about to break the record. The point difference also widened further. Before halftime was over, the 76ers lead came to 7 points, and they were about to break through 20 points. The 20-point difference is a critical point. Steve Kerr is also a little anxious. Now he is still dreaming that Angzi's physical fitness will drop significantly in the second half. He does not know that Angzi directly strengthened the moment he learned of the Warriors' defensive strategy. With his physical stamina, even if the whole game has been singles, he can maintain extremely high efficiency in this game and play until the end of the game. In the second quarter, the defender in front of Angzi changed again. Andre Iguodala left the field. Harrison Barnes came to defend Angzi. Facing the tall Harrison Barnes, Angzi's offense was simpler, directly relying on the speed to rush, and it was a shock to the Warriors' defense that was riddled with holes. The last goal of the second quarter, Angzi fouled with a mid-range 2+ foul, which directly extended the 76ers' lead to 20 points. Brett Brown on the sidelines also breathed a sigh of relief, leading by 20 points at halftime. The victory of this game has been stabilized by more than half. In the end, Angzi scored 55 points at halftime and continued to exert strength in the third quarter. Another 20 points in the third quarter and 75 points in the audience. The Warriors collapsed. The point difference has come to 30 points. Angzi personally grabbed 75 points and really managed to defeat a team by himself. Of course, No other player in history has done this, but the finals did it by himself. Defeating the opponent, Anxi is really the first person. Knowing that at the end of the game, Steve Kerr's whole person was still dazed. He thought of Anxi's strength, but he really didn't expect Anxi to be so strong. Throughout the game, the Warriors changed 4 people to defend Anxi. Facing Klay Thompson, Anxi defeated Klay Thompson with breakthroughs and shots. It can only be regarded as a first-class single defense at best, while facing Andre Iguodala's defense. In the face of the league's top single defense, an 11 was a little bit sweaty, but the variety of weapons on the offensive end has made Anxi not afraid of defenders like Iguodala. In the face of the tall Harrison Barnes, Anxi directly used speed to smash, and in the face of Drummond Green, who is known for his strength, Anxi's handling method is simpler, avoiding power confrontation, various backward jumpers. Draymond Green can't defend at all. Finally, in the first match of the finals, the 76ers won the first game by 2 points at home. 0. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 696. After the first battle, the discussion about the 75 minutes of Anxi's 3 quarters was like a surging river, endless, and like the Yellow River flooding, it was impossible to control. Only a year has passed since last season's finals. Last season, Anxi also led the team to win the Spurs in some games alone. By this season, Anxi, who is more personal, is obviously not something the Warriors can stop. Therefore, the fan media began to laugh at the Warriors in this game. Gosh, what did I see? Jordan's Law. Is Steve Cole's brain burnt out? Steve Kerr must have not watched last year's finals, otherwise he would not use Jordan's rules so impulsively. Last year's Anxi has proved that he can beat a team alone. The 76ers won this game very easily. There is no way. There is undercover Steve Kerr on the opposite side. Does he want to give the O'Brien Cup directly to the 76ers? And ESPN's front page headline is Anxi scored 75 points, and the 76ers won the first game of the finals. The headline article was written by Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons wrote in the article, Steve Kerr showed his wisdom in the 3 rounds of the playoffs in the Western Conference. In the 3 rounds of the playoffs, he has done everything he can. After reaching the finals, he is presented with an opportunity to make history. No one knows if Steve Kerr suddenly lost his mind. In the first game of the finals, he suddenly fainted frequently. The Jordan Law was implemented for Anxi, but in fact, the Spurs used a few losses last season to prove Anxi's ability to defeat a team alone. 1 or 2 games were even explained by Steve Kerr himself. In the finals, he suddenly lost his memory. In addition, throughout the game, the Warriors used different players to defend Anxi. They did not realize that this was also a wrong approach. To defend Anxi, you still need a player who does not suffer from a single frontal defense, supplemented by another player who moves faster. Co-defense, this kind of defense is correct, and looking at the Warriors, the most suitable for defending Anxi frontally is the substitute Andre Iguodala. If Andre Iguodala can defend Anxi, with the help of other players, this kind of defense can really limit Anxi, instead of all kinds of unnecessary changes. Bill Simmons criticized Steve Kerr, and after the defeat in the first game, the Warriors also began to criticize themselves, find out mistakes, and make adjustments in time. Steve Kerr first admitted his mistakes in the first game strategy, completely overturned the first game tactics, abandoned Jordan's rules, adopted Luke Wharton's suggestion, used Andre Iguodala alone to defend Anxi, other players fringe and assist in defense. After the first game of the finals, Steve Kerr no longer dared to relax his defense against Anxi. So, in the second round of the finals, everything was back on track. At the Wachovia Arena, the game started and Anxi once again enjoyed the double-team defense from start to finish. Charles Barkley in the commentary side, "This is the defensive treatment that a superstar should enjoy." Steve Kerr finally realized this. Andre Iguodala and Klay Thompson's flanking defense, and 11 felt a trace of pressure. Fortunately, the pressure is not too high. In the last game, Anxi scored 75 points. In this game, Anxi also changed with the change of the opponent's defensive strategy. In the opening game, Anxi did not insist on personal offense, but through holding the ball, threatening the opponent's defense, more organized the team's offense. Anxi played more towards the hole in this game. And the Warriors played very well at the beginning of this game. Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson recovered some touch and made consecutive outside shots at the beginning. The 76ers are not to be outdone. Anxi also led the 76ers to play an extremely efficient offense. In the first 8 minutes of the game, the two teams tied at 16-16 and Brett Brown called a timeout. The first 8 minutes of the second game exceeded many people's expectations. On the 76ers side, Brett Brown did not expect that after the last wild victory, the Warriors could actually find their rhythm and be in the first 8 of this game. Men and the 76ers had a 5-5 open. On the Warriors side, Steve Kerr was also a little surprised. He didn't expect that after a solid defense, the team's offense also opened up, and the opening was actually tied with the 76ers. Seems to be playing well, this game has a good chance of winning. Brett Brown was the first timeout to make adjustments, allowing Anxi to play more singles, hoping to take advantage of Anxi's personal ability to regain the advantage and take the lead. This adjustment is very effective. Anxi's personal ability is still very strong. Andre Iguodala has tried his best, but in the face of Anxi's crazy individual singles, Andre Iguodala was still beaten into a sieve. In the last 4 minutes of the first quarter, Anxi played high singles continuously and used his physical advantage to beat Andre Iguodala. In the last 4 minutes, he scored 9 points in a row, and a wave of points widened to 5 points. Just like that, after the first quarter, the 76ers lead the Warriors by 5 points. The 5-point difference is not too big, but for the 76ers, they have taken the advantage of this game. Then, in the second quarter, the Warriors entered the chasing stage. The 5-point disadvantage is really not that big. 2 or 3 goals can be recovered, but the 76ers are not the kind of team that can let the Warriors chase these 2 or 3 goals. As long as the Warriors bring a wave of chasing rhythms, Anxi will immediately stand up and beat the Warriors back directly with a wave of singles. Steve Kerr is getting impatient again. The Warriors have a small lineup this season, the highest scoring lineup in the league. They are point guard Stephen Curry, shooting guard Klay Thompson, and small forward Andre Iguodala, power forward Harrison Barnes and center Drummond Green. Therefore, in the third quarter, when the point difference has not been narrowed, Steve Kerr waved his hand and directly replaced this lineup. With more than 6 minutes left in the third quarter, the Warriors made a desperate move. Brett Brown also saw what the Warriors thought. He made a counterpoint adjustment, replaced Pau Gasol, replaced Lewis Williams, and Anxi top to the third position, and was given unlimited right to fire. Brett Brown's idea is very simple: use Anxi's personal ability to score, and then use the same small lineup to withstand the impact of the Warriors lineup. As long as it can withstand the Warriors' impact, judging from the current 10-point difference of the 76ers lead, this game can also be won directly. The game restarted, the Warriors attacked. Stephen Curry held the ball, but after controlling it to the front court, it passed it directly to Drummond Green. Drummond Green took the ball and quickly took the ball. Obviously, the Warriors have already played out and they started to move the ball quickly. Anxi's reaction was also very quick. Brett Brown had already made arrangements, and the 76ers instantly started their rotation defense. Anxi directly pushed into Stephen Curry. He knew very well that the Warriors' biggest offensive threat was actually Stephen Curry. The entire Warriors only had 2 scoring points with 20-plus points, one is Stephen Curry and the other is Klay Thompson, but Klay Thompson has been defended by Anxi for a whole game, and the feel of this whole game is not good. Now that Jack Laughter takes over the defense, the 76ers are still not afraid of Klay Thompson's sudden explosion. Anxi defended Stephen Curry. This defense is very solid. He pushed directly into Stephen Curry and followed Curry closely at a speed slower than Stephen Curry. The Warriors' quick pass failed to find a chance, they could only repass the ball back to Curry's hands. Stephen Curry took the ball and shot it. With Stephen Curry's shooting ability, even if he shoots against the defense, he has a high probability of hitting. But, in the finals, he faced Anxi. Anxi's interference was very aggressive. His height and bounce advantages allowed him to fly directly above Curry, forcing Curry to change his shooting posture. This kind of throwing way avoids Anxi's interference. In the end, the ball was 3 times without exception. Lawrence Knoll accepts the basketball directly from the basket. Anxi counterattacked the ball, hit a 3-pointer in the counterattack, and once again widened the gap. Then, Anxi opened up the situation with absolute personal strength. The Warriors' idea of changing into a small lineup was to chase points, but it was impossible to complete Anxi. In this fast-paced offensive and defensive, Anxi completely opened up his offensive firepower. Long-range shot hits. In the last 5 minutes of the third quarter, Anxi scored 11 points, and the individual score of the game reached 47 points. After 3 quarters, the 76ers' lead also came to 20 points. The game immediately entered garbage time. 8. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletnji. Chapter 698. After the last quarter, the 76ers won the victory steadily, winning 2 consecutive home games, leading 2-0. After scoring 75 points in the first game, Anxi's data in the second game still exploded. He scored 54 points in the game, with 7 rebounds and 9 assists, completely dominating the basketball court. The obvious contrast is Stephen Curry. In the first half, Stephen Q's defense against Ismail Smith was not very stressful, so his shooting percentage was very high. He made 5 3-pointers in the half and scored 26 points. But in the second half, facing Anxi's change of defense, Stephen Curry's shooting rate plummeted, shooting only 1 of 6 3-pointers in the second half and only scoring 7 points in the second half. With 33 points, 4 rebounds and 7 assists in the game, Stephen Curry's data is still good, but in the fourth quarter of the third quarter of the Warriors' crash, Stephen Curry only scored 7 points and 2 assists. The performance was completely different. The star of the Warriors. In this regard, the commentator Charles Barkley said, "This is the gap between the Warriors and the 76ers. Anxi directly beat Stephen Curry one-on-one. The efficient Stephen Curry in the first half had no ability to resist in front of Anxi. The Warriors now we need a second person to stand up. The Warriors' second man should be Klay Thompson, but in this game, Klay Thompson's performance was even worse. He scored 4 of 13 shots and only scored 10 points, 2 rebounds and 1 assist in the teaming of Anxi and Jack Laughter. Under defense, Klay Thompson sleepwalked the entire court. Outside dual-core sleepwalking, Drummond Green played well, but no matter how good Drummond Green played, only 20 points and defensive contributions were still not enough to resist Anxi's firepower alone. After another defeat in the second battle, the major media in North America are no longer optimistic about the Warriors. USA Today's report, "The Warriors are still too young, they lack experience. Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson's outside combination can't stop Anxi's impact alone." ESPN also said, "The 76ers are close to winning this championship. Anxi will complete his 4 consecutive championships and will also win his 3 consecutive FMVP. This kind of career start will surpass Michael Jordan in the future. It's not impossible anymore." Sports Illustrated interpreted the first two games of the finals from another angle. Anzi averaged 64.5 points per game in the first two games. Compared to last year's finals, Anzi is stronger. Such explosive data has made Anzi stand in front of Michael. Before Jordan, he was only 26 years old, and there are still a few years to his peak. Not only has it become possible to surpass Jordan, it has even become inevitable. The three media madly milked the 76ers, and the closed training before the 76ers avoid such external disturbances. For the third game heading to Oakland, the 76ers needed to play away games. Brett Brown decided to remain unchanged. This is the right approach. The easy victory of the first two games made the 76ers no need to make any changes. It was a warrior. Steve Kerr was in distress once again. He lost a miserable first battle and lost a lot in the second battle. Obviously, the policy and strategy of the first two battles had to be overturned, but Steve Kerr didn't know what to do. How to make adjustments. As a rookie coach, Steve Kerr's rookie season was perfect before the finals. He had the #1 regular season record in the Western Conference and even defeated strong opponents in the playoffs. He made it all the way to the finals. It can be said that he only won the championship. In the finals, you can get a perfect rookie coaching season. But Steve Kerr, who has not suffered too many setbacks, suddenly encountered a big hurdle. An 11 stopped in front of the Warriors and him and seemed to be unable to solve it. In the third game, Steve Kerr decided to keep the tactical strategy of the second game unchanged, adding a pincer defense against Anzi. Obviously, although the first two games ended in defeat, Steve Kerr was still unwilling. Too many changes were made because he really didn't have too many options. He could only use the tactics and strategies of the first two games and try to fight again. Oakland Oracle Arena, even though the first two games lost miserably, Warriors fans still filled the Oracle Arena. At the beginning of the game, Anzi was frantically besieged by the Warriors. During the regular time, he would always encounter double team defense by his opponents. In some special moments, the Warriors even used 3 double teams. Anzi sent 5 assists in the first quarter. The 76ers still stabilized the situation. After the first quarter, the 76ers lead the Warriors by 2 points with 26:24. The Warriors started playing better, but helplessly. The later they played, the less they could solve Anzi's point. In the second quarter, the 76ers' play style changed, and Anzi started to take the ball frequently in the high post. Last season, Anzi's high position singles was his most threatening offensive technique. After one season, Anzi added countless new offensive techniques, but his high position singles were still his most threatening offensive technique. In the high position, Anzi can play countless types of offensive methods. He can lean back jumpers, he can retreat jumpers, he can turn around to make breakthroughs, stop jumpers, and even pass the ball. In short, in this position, Anzi there are countless possibilities to play. In the second quarter, Anzi frequently played high singles. The Warriors tried their best to contain them, but in the second quarter they blocked their defensive formation. There is no way, Anzi's singles is too strong in this position, and there are too many opportunities that can be created. Even if it is a pass, it can pass a deadly scoring opportunity. After finishing the second quarter like this, the 76ers expanded their lead. They continued to play like this in the second half, and the point difference continued to expand. The Warriors could not withstand the impact of Anzi alone. So, the Warriors in the second half crashed again. In the last 5 minutes of the third quarter, the 76ers played a wave of 16:6, and another wave ended the game. Anzi never played in the fourth quarter. After 3 consecutive high-intensity games, Brett Brown also wanted to give Anzi more rest. The 76ers have won 15 consecutive victories, and they are only 1 game away from winning the championship. As long as they win the next finals, the 76ers will set the record of a complete playoff victory. Brett Brown values this record and he hopes to give Anzi a good rest so that he can continue to win the fourth game, to create this record. In the end, the 76ers won another away game. After 3 big victories, the 76ers have an absolute advantage, 3-0. Got the match point. It can be said that there is no suspense in the finals, and only the 76ers will win the game within a few games. In the finals, no team can make a comeback after falling behind 0-3. What's more, in the past 3 games, the Warriors have no chance of losing every game. The gap between the two teams is too big, maybe, the Warriors must. I'm breaking the boat. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 699. No team can make a comeback with 0-3 behind, so in the fourth game, the 76ers were under no pressure. They went to the Oracle Arena very easily to start the fourth game. The pressure on the Warriors is also much less, because they are almost certain to lose. In the fourth game of the finals, they played lightly, but they were full of fighting spirit and put on a posture of a last stand. It seemed that they were going to fight to the death. Steve Kerr directly changed the starting lineup for the fourth game. He sent point guard Stephen Curry, shooting guard Klay Thompson, small forward Andre Iguodala, power forward Harrison Barnes and center Lamont Green's starting lineup. Steve Kerr directly put out their Death 5 small lineup. The purpose is obvious, is to rely on this set of exceptionally good lineups in pursuit of points and defense to fight for this victory. The goal of the Warriors is to refuse to sweep. But helplessly, Brett Brown also reacted quickly and made adjustments directly. He allowed an 11 to take the ball more offensively, and increased the number of moves on the defensive end, allowing an 11 to shift his focus to the defensive end. Also put on a small lineup to withstand the impact of the Warriors. But in this way, the scene of this game is much better than the previous ones. The two teams fought against each other. Anzi and Stephen Curry scored wildly. When Anzi scored a central shot, Stephen Curry would immediately pay it back. One score 3 points. Then Anzi made a 3-pointer, and Stephen Curry continued to ignore the 3-pointer or 3-pointer. Of course, the farther behind the two scores, the bigger the gap. Anzi attacked more resolutely, was closer to the basket, and shot a lot higher. His personal ability was very strong. It was not the Warriors' defense that could stop it. On the contrary, Stephen Curry was a little uncomfortable being restricted by Ismail Smith. There will be some strikes. By the end of the game, Anzi scored 28 points, 5 rebounds and 7 assists alone, while Stephen Curry scored 19 points, 2 rebounds and 4 assists. He fell behind Anzi across the board. The points difference between the two teams was similar. The 76ers scored 72 points in the half, and the Warriors also scored 65 points in the half, but they were still 7 points behind the 76ers. Waiting until the second half, Anzi made a burst of effort and scored another 20 points. The three quarters scored 48 points. The 76ers expanded their lead and led the Warriors by as much as 18 points. The game quickly lost the suspense again. The Warriors fans at Oracle Arena have left the field one after another. The Warriors have no chance. The 76ers' record-breaking championship is already in sight. In the last quarter, Anzi scored 6 points straight in the opening game, which directly helped the 76ers widen the point difference to more than 20 points. Then, Anzi was replaced and the game ended. In the end, Anzi scored 54 points in the game and helped the 76ers beat the Warriors. At the end of the game, ribbons and sparks floated over the Oracle Arena. The game is over. The 76ers swept the Warriors 4-0 and won 2 consecutive championships. The 76ers won the championship, but the protagonist in the arena is Anzi. This is his 4th consecutive championship, and it will also be his 3rd consecutive FMVP. The 2014-2015 season is the fifth season of Angzi's career, but he has won 5 O'Brien Cups, 3 FMVP trophies, a regular season MVP trophy and countless other honors. In terms of personal honor accumulation, Angzi is already the second person in league history, he is only weaker than Michael Jordan. ESPN commentary, Angzi is highly touted. At the same time, the Warriors players took the lead to exit the game, and the 76ers players were still celebrating. Although it was at the opponent's home court, at the moment of winning the championship, the players could no longer restrain their excitement and began to celebrate frantically. Up. The winner of the 2014-2015 season is the Philadelphia 76ers. Half an hour later, the 76ers returned to the center of the court, witnessed by countless 76ers fans. Expedition to Oakland, won their second consecutive O'Brien Cup at Oracle Arena. Adam Silver handed the O'Brien Cup to Angzi, and Angzi raised the O'Brien Cup in one hand under everyone's attention. To win the championship, the 76ers made history. Angzi made history. Old man Bill Russell also appeared on the sidelines, standing next to the trophy of the best player in the finals, waiting for the 76ers to celebrate and win the finals MVP trophy. On the other side, the host has also announced which player won the MVP of the 2014-2015 season finals. There is no suspense, the whole audience and even the whole world shouted a name at this moment, Angzi. Angzi. Angzi smiled, accepted the finals MVP trophy, shook hands with the old man Bill Russell, and then held the trophy again. At this moment, Angzi is the new king of the basketball country. On the second day of the finals, the 76ers returned to Philadelphia with the O'Brien Cup and the finals MVP trophy. In the streets and alleys of Philadelphia, the carnival began. The championship parade began, and Philadelphia was empty. In the parade to win the championship, Angzi delivered a championship speech. This is our second championship trophy. I promise that this will not be the last one. I will stay in Philadelphia and help Philadelphia win more O'Brien Cups. This is a declaration of loyalty. At that moment, the cheers of Philadelphia went straight to the sky. The major players also began to congratulate Angzi on Twitter and Facebook. Everyone knew very well that Angzi was very happy about this league. Domination, starting with 2 consecutive championships, is already doomed. After the parade and celebration ended, Angzi also left Philadelphia after this holiday. This summer, his task is very heavy. Because of Angzi's victory again, his status in the basketball world has soared. At this time, he is already an idol in the hearts of all Chinese people. Therefore, under pressure, the Basketball Association invited Angzi to return to China and directly gave Angzi great rights to reorganize the country. Team. Angzi appointed old coach Gong Luming as the men's basketball team leader, and invited Mike Budenholzer from the United States as the head coach of the men's basketball team to reorganize the men's basketball team. Then led the men's basketball team to the Changsha Asian Championships in September. Angzi alone led the men's basketball team to defeat their opponents in succession, winning every match very easily. This made the leaders of the Basketball Association very satisfied. They also saw the hope of the Olympics and World Championships for the first time, and they saw full achievements. So they support Angzi even more. Under Angzi's leadership, the men's basketball team also formed a core lineup. Point guard Xiao Guo, shooting guard Angzi, small forward Ding Yuhang, power forward Ulfa United and center Zhou Qi. This lineup is not lost to some European and American strong teams. If Angzi fights with all its strength, even the United States will be able to fight. After returning to China to play in the Asian Championships, Angzi also established a foundation to support domestic basketball youth training, and at the same time established a basketball school of its own to cultivate basketball talents. Angzi's idea is very simple. He hopes to use his abilities to help Chinese basketball take off. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 700. In the 2015-2016 season, the 76ers maintained the stability of the lineup. Center Joel Embiid returned, and the Sixers formed the Three Towers. The outside lineup of Ismail Smith and Angzi Crowder remained unchanged. Looking at Germany's comeback, the 76ers' strength has been strengthened again. The Sixers' major opponents have not changed much in the lineup, but have only strengthened the bench. As a result, the 76ers continued to remain strong. With Embiid coming back and showing a certain degree of inside dominance, the 76ers had an astonishing regular season record. They won a record 73 wins, and at the same time, matched double-kill Warriors and Thunder, 4-kill Knights. The playoffs continued to sweep opponents continuously, and finally completed 3 consecutive championships. Angzi also won his 5 consecutive championships and 4 consecutive FMVP, and he also won the regular season MVP. In the 2016-2017 season, the league landscape changed drastically. LeBron James decided to leave the Cavaliers and join the Clippers. At the same time, Dwayne Wade cut his salary to join the Clippers. Griffin was sent to the Knicks in exchange for Carmelo Anthony. The 4 heroes gathered in Los Angeles, plus DeAndre Jordan on the inside. The Clippers formed a Big Five lineup, ranking first in the league in book strength. The Warriors were not to be outdone. They gave up Harrison Barnes, whose contract expired, and grabbed Kevin Durant from the Thunder to form the Big Four. The West instantly formed 2 strong teams. But under Angzi's leadership, the 76ers still maintain their dominance. They broke the record again in the regular season, winning 75 games and losing only 6 games in the season. Then in the playoffs, in the East, they did not encounter any resistance, all the way to the finals. Waiting for the Warriors-Clippers battle in the West, in the end, the Clippers with an unreasonable lineup lost to the Warriors with a more reasonable lineup. The Warriors entered the finals. This time in the finals, the 76ers really encountered some challenges, but the Warriors only won 2 games in the finals. The 76ers still defeated the Warriors with a big score of 4-2 and won 4 consecutive championships. Angzi's personal 6 consecutive championships, 5 consecutive FMVP won. At the same time, he also won 3 consecutive MVP honors in the regular season. Waiting until the 2017-2018 season, after the 76ers won the championship again, everyone's unanimous argument is, Angzi has completed his surpassing of Michael Jordan this season. In the 2017-2018 season, the 29-year-old Angzi won his 7 consecutive championships, 6 consecutive FMVP and 4 regular season MVP. At this time, Angzi is still at his peak. With such honor and age, Angzi has indeed completed the surpassing of Michael Jordan. The 76ers' dominance of the league lasted until the 2024-2025 season. The 35-year-old Angzi suffered serious injuries this season and the 76ers interrupted their consecutive championships this season. As of the 2023-2024 season, Angzi has completed his 12 consecutive championships, 11 consecutive FMVP, and also the 76ers' 10 consecutive championships. But also because of Angzi's serious injury, the 76ers are determined to start rebuilding. They still gave Angzi a huge contract, but they dug out the league's top 5 point guard superstar Mark Fultz from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Embiid formed a super dual core, hoping to continue to rule this alliance. But Angzi's core position has to be given up. This is something Angzi didn't want to see, so Angzi first announced on his Twitter that the 2024-2025 season will be his last season. Then, he announced that he would no longer play for the 76ers in the new season. The next day, the San Antonio Spurs announced that Anzi will join. Spurs coach Manu Ginobili said that although Anzi is 35 years old, he is still the best player in the league. The Spurs introduced Anzi for the championship. Then, the 2024-2025 season begins. Anzi returned to where his dream started. His position has become a point guard. The team's shooting guard is Kawhi Leonard, who has also entered the end of his career. The small forward is the Spurs' blue-collar rookie Ben Walker, and the power forward is Kevin Love, who is old and has become a role player, and the center is the Chinese center Chamberlain from the youth training camp established by Anzi in China. Last season was Chamberlain's rookie season. He averaged 25 points, 12 rebounds and 3 blocks per game. His personal performance and data was second only to the 76ers' Joel Embiid. With such a lineup, Anzi started their retirement tour season with the Spurs. In this season, surprising things repeated themselves again. Anzi was radiating the second spring of his career. In the Spurs, Anzi scored 2 consecutive double-doubles. The regular season averaged 29.8 points and 12.5 assists, completing the second burst of his career. When everyone was not optimistic, Anzi led the old and new Spurs into the finals, and then, amidst the cheers of the Philadelphia Anzi Arena, they led the Spurs to an upset defeat of the 76ers and won the personal 10th 3 O'Brien Cups, and won the Finals MVP trophy that has been renamed Anzi Cup. Completed the end of a legendary career. With 13 championships and 12 FMVP trophies in his career, Anzi has become the unsurpassed of the US NBA. Genius remembers the site address in 1 second. Apex novel mobile version reading URL.